These are some of the assets that I created for the Law and Order Blender Challenge, and I want to talk to you specifically. I'll do some of these later, but I want to talk to you specifically about this lamp, and in particular this, I guess you'd call it a gooseneck, whatever. It's a flexible thing, and in the past a lot of us may have done that in texture, but I want to show you how to create that in Substance Painter. It's very simple. So we'll put a basic material on this, and then I'll show you how to do this. Like I say, it's really easy. So first of all, here is the lamp model, and as you can see, that's pretty straightforward. If I come into edit mode, you'll see that I've marked some seams, so just note where I've done that. I've put a seam here so that I can put a separate material. It's easier when you put seams, also so that I can break this out. I put a seam right here. Notice that my bevel has 3 edges. I tend to do 3, and so I got it in the middle. Also, wherever I have a big end gone like that, and then I put a seam up the middle here so that I could break it out. This is the part we're really going to focus on, and there's just a seam down the back of that. And then for this piece here, it looks like I've just got one seam on this big end gone here. If I look at the UVs, the main thing to note is that the UVs here are straight. They weren't straight originally. This is sort of bent, and I've straightened them. And to do that, for example, if I just select this, it's already straight, but if I press N, I use this add-on called UV Squares. Now, it's not free, but it's very worth getting if you want to do this quickly and easily. And so that's what I do. And this technique is going to work best if the UVs are straight, for this part at least. You don't always have to have straight UVs. Sometimes you absolutely don't want that, but in many cases you do. So I've already got the UVs, and I've got my model, and I've exported an FBX, and I brought it into Substance Painter here, and I've baked the mesh maps, and it's looking okay as it is. Alright, so I've got no layers in here. We're just going to do really quick materials for this. I'm going to just start on my materials, and I'm going to type in plastic. I'll scroll down maybe to this plastic glossy pure. We could try that, start with that. So I drop that in, and it goes everywhere, and it's quite shiny. You may not want that. I'm going to come into the properties, and I'm going to turn this, I'm going to make it sort of a black color like that, and I'll just bring the roughness up a little bit so it's not quite so shiny, as opposed to using a metal. A shiny plastic can look like a metal anyhow. And then you can do whatever it is you want to do to make the materials look good. That's not really the focus of this, but what I will do is I'll add a filter to this material here, and the filter I'll use is this matte finish rough, and I use this almost all the time just to create, see this roughness here, and then you can maybe tone down the intensity if you want. You can add dirt and all of that stuff, but just for now, let's just focus on the gooseneck part, okay, because that's what I really want to show you. So there's our base material. It's all on everything. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to create a new folder, and we'll call this pattern, let's say, and I'm going to add a fill, and that fill goes right inside, and as you can see, everything is white. I'll leave it like that for now because it's going to be easier if we can see a color. I'm going to come back to this folder level, and I'm going to add a black mask, come over to my polygon fill, and I could probably choose this mesh fill because these were separate meshes. I created the base, I created this separately, I created this piece separately. So I've now highlighted just the neck, and that's what I want to work on. Okay, so now I'm going to come over to here, and what I'm going to want is actually, I think I'm just going to have, we'll try just height. So I'm going to alt-click height, and I'm going to drop this down. I'll drop it all the way down. Now we don't see anything happening yet because we need to come back to this layer. All right, this is the one that I just put just height on. I'm going to add a black mask to this. Nothing's changed, and a fill. And I'm going to open the properties of the fill, and in the grayscale I'm going to search for stripes. Click stripes, and now you can start to see what is happening, and it's wrapping around. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the pattern, and I'm going to take the shift, and I'm going to bring it all the way to the left so it's kind of straight along there. And then we can adjust the width of those stripes, those indentations, you see, like that, something like this, and then I can increase the number, and I'll do something like that. We'll try it. And now what I want to do is I want to come back here actually because I think it's very shiny. It's hard to see. I'm going to up the roughness on this part here just a little bit like that, and maybe I can adjust the light. That's a little bit better. All right, now it doesn't look bad, but there's something else that we can add that can make that look even better. So back here on the black mask of this layer that we added the stripes to, I'm going to add a filter, and the filter that I'm going to choose is going to be the blur filter. So watch the neck there. See that? So you can go up or down depending on the effect that you want. I tend to want, you know, a little bit of that. And that gives it almost a beveled look. And that is it. Beyond that, like I had said before, you can add your dirt, your metal edges, your dust, you know, whatever damage you want. But that's a quick way that you can make this structure here, you know, like a pipe, something like that, or like I said, the gooseneck. All right, so just remember, you're going to need this. There's the folder with the entire effect on there. And instead of doing that in geometry and in Blender or whatever, putting a whole bunch of you know, loop cuts and then, you know, beveling it and stuff like that, and you know, extruding it in, we can do this all in texture, and it's very simple and straightforward. All right, hope that helps.